And may I congratulate the Right Honourable Lady on delivering her second budget. I hope she enjoyed it, because it really should be her last.
OK. If we go into recession, should Rachel Reeves resign, Chris Phil?
I think she should resign straight away, to be honest, because she's done such a terrible job as Chancellor. She lied to the electorate. Yeah, I think she should resign today. Yeah, because she's done such a terrible job. Look, she lied to the electorate before the last election. She said
before standing up in the Commons, that's now prompted calls for her resignation.
The crown slips. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, has just sent her resignation letter to the Home Office, a move that follows Keir Starmer's shocking U-turn on the cancellation of elections in the wake of the Mandelson scandal, leaving the government in a state of terminal velocity. The facade of stability hasn't just cracked, it has suffered a total structural collapse. We are witnessing a moment in British political history that defies the usual conventions of a midterm slump. This is an all-out institutional liquidation. With the departure of Rachel Reeves, the very pillar of fiscal stability has effectively walked out on a Prime Minister whose judgment has become his greatest liability. We are no longer looking at a government, we are looking at a crime scene. The Home Office is currently facing a massive political crisis as the number of ministerial resignations climbs past 8 in a matter of days. This isn't a reshuffle, it's an exodus. When the Chancellor of the Exchequer decides that her position is no longer tenable, the message to the markets and the public is clear. The ship is not just taking on water, it is actively being abandoned by the people who were supposed to be steering it. Welcome back to British Corners, your destination for high-standard, mature political analysis delivered with the sharp, slightly sassy reality check the establishment so desperately wants to redact. We provide the peer-to-peer alternative to the sanitized, corporate media cycle that is currently working overtime to frame this mass resignation as a routine adjustment. If you are watching the Chancellor and the Home Office flee the scene while the Prime Minister performs a desperate U-turn on the democratic process itself, you have found your home. We track the character collapses, the institutional rut, and the tectonic movements of the UK's shifting power dynamics. Before we dive into the wreckage of Morgan McSweeney's operation and the convenient amnesia currently spreading through the cabinet, do yourself a massive favour. Hit that subscribe button right now. Join the British Corners community. We are building a movement for the politically astute who believe that transparency shouldn't be a policy you only adopt when the police are at the door. Subscribe now to British Corners. You will want to be here as we track the final, desperate manoeuvres of this embattled administration. The resignation of Morgan McSweeney is perhaps the most significant blow to the heart of the Starmer project. As Chief of Staff and the primary architect of Labour's return to power, his fall on his sword signals that the rot has reached the very core of the operation. McSweeney championed Peter Mandelson for the role of ambassador to the United States, an appointment that has become the radioactive core of this government's undoing.
Right. Leader of the opposition.
It's a total humiliation, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last year, she put up taxes by £40 billion, the biggest tax rate in British history. She promised that she wouldn't be back for more. She swore it was a one-off. She told everyone that from now on, it would be stability and she would pay for everything with growth. Today, she has broken every single one of those promises. If she had any decency, she would resign. Yes. At the last budget, she said she was proud to be the country's first ever female chancellor. After this budget, she will go down as the country's worst ever chancellor. Today...
Order! And the Chief Whip...
The new revelations regarding Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein have surfaced with a lethal precision, stripping away the last shred of credibility from a Prime Minister who promised a return to service. McSweeney's statement was a masterclass in noble-sounding retreat, admitting the appointment was wrong and that it damaged the country. But the question remains, if the advisor resigns for the advice, why does the man who took the advice and signed the warrant still hold the keys to number 10?
Claims that he was lied to. He wasn't lied to by this due diligence document. And it may be that Mandelson denied these claims. And if so, maybe the Prime Minister was lied to. But he was lied to by an inveterate liar who had been fired twice before. And we're supposed to believe, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the Prime Minister, who was once the chief prosecutor in this country, couldn't see through this nonsense.
And the Prime Minister is the man who said he had confidence in Mandelson in spite of what he knew. Watch this excerpt.
This is where the political arithmetic becomes brutal. One Labour MP, speaking with the kind of cowardly anonymity that defines a collapsing regime, has already declared Starmer a dead man walking. It's not a question of if the knife is coming, but who will be the one to twist it. The emergency meeting with the Parliamentary Labour Party is likely to be a bloodbath. MPs are divided, but the momentum is clearly shifting toward those who believe that the Starmer brand is now a toxic asset. When your own backbenchers are calling for your resignation for the good of the country, you aren't leading a party, you're managing a mutiny. If you appreciate this level of forensic scrutiny into the moral vacuum currently occupying Downing Street, make sure you are a subscriber to British Connors. We don't care about the party line. We care about the fact that the people running the country are currently providing more work for the ethics advisor than the legislative office. Subscribe now and help us grow a platform that refuses to let the establishment hide behind distractions when they are actually facing a collapse of character. Your support allows us to keep calling out the appalling judgment that has turned the UK's government into a revolving door of resignations. The situation with Rachel Reeves is the definitive signal that the economic project is dead. To lose a chancellor amidst a constitutional crisis over election cancellations is a catastrophic failure of governance. The Home Office is in a state of paralysis, struggling to process the sheer volume of high-level departures. Brian Leishman and other MPs have been vocal in their assessment that the Prime Minister must follow McSweeney's lead one last time and resign. This isn't just about Mandelson anymore, it's about the fact that Starmer's integrity was a facade that couldn't survive its first contact with a real-world scandal. The decision to rush through appointments, to ignore the vetting warnings, and to then attempt to cancel elections to avoid the public's verdict is the behavior of a regime in a state of terminal panic. While Labour is hemorrhaging its front bench, the vacuum of power is being filled by a sense of national urgency. The public is watching a government that cannot even vet its own ambassadors. The British political landscape has shifted dramatically, entitled to postpone and what we're seeing now is just the beginning. The Mandelson files have revealed a network of influence and association that makes the previous administration look like a Sunday school picnic. The endgame is in sight. Reports that Mandelson was being shown classified documents before his vetting was completed. They want to raise serious questions about whether the man who promised to fix the foundations, finding himself standing in the rubble of his own creation, it is a matter of potential misconduct in public. This has been British Connors. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, emergency meeting market parliamentary Labour continues and the cabal of latest Home Office number 10 are named. Ensure you are part of our Make sure you are subscribed and your notifications are switched on. We follow the trail of our next video will examine the specific legal ramifications of the election cancellation U-turn and the growing calls for a formal investigation into the vetting process. The rotten report is being exposed. Stay we are the only ones providing the live and keep coming back to the analysis that gives you the truth. Subscribe now and join the conversation that the mainstream media is too terrified to have. The reality of March 2026 is that the Starmer premiership has become a cautionary tale. You cannot build a government on the promise of ethics and then spend your first year covering up for a man like Peter Mandelson. You cannot lecture the public on standards while your Deputy Prime Minister is dodging stamp duty and your Chancellor is handing in her notice to avoid being dragged down with the ship. The appointment of joint acting chiefs of staff, Vidyor Alexan and Jill Cuthbertson, is a desperate attempt to share a burden of power that has become too heavy for any single individual to bear. It's a sign that the Prime Minister is no longer a singular leader, but a figurehead being propped up by a shrinking circle of loyalists.